Alright, how you doing? It's Paul here, and I've got some news on a number of different fronts. First of all, and probably most importantly, many of you will be happy to know that I'm starting a new Warriors of Chaos army for Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and as you can see, I've got some miniatures put together here. Before I start talking about everything, I just want to make a couple of other announcements. Yes, there is a big Warhammer Fantasy Battles tournament coming up this weekend called Fields of Blood in Auckland, New Zealand, and yes, I will be attending, yes, I'll be taking the High Elves, and yes, I will be doing some battle reports. As for the computer gaming front, there will be some big news coming up. I will actually be doing a lot in the near future, which I will talk about. So keep an eye out for that. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. Yes, new fantasy army actually is going to be Warriors of Chaos. Surprise, surprise. I'm also considering Empire, maybe a bit later, but for now it happens to be Warriors of Chaos. Here's the first look at a unit of Chaos Warriors on foot with great weapons. And the most important thing about these guys is the bases that they are standing on. As you can see, they are completely made out of skulls. They are resin bases, they are modular bases. Really, really cool bases. This is the main reason why I decided to do this army, just because I could mount them on these layers of skulls, and they can be purchased from a company called Micro Art Studio, and that is a Polish company, so look them up on the internet if you're interested. The bases are very, very expensive. If you want to buy some, I suggest going for the ground mail, the surface mail option, to keep the price down. It takes about 3 or 4 weeks to get to a place like New Zealand, but they still arrive just fine. You'll also know that I have done a couple of conversions here and there, and I have ordered the special metal great weapon clip-ons, which you don't get in the Warriors of Chaos box set, direct from Games Workshop, which clip into their hands there. And yeah, just in general, Warriors of Chaos aren't a very effective choice in the battlefield. They are not a very powerful troops choice because they are only movement 4. They're very expensive. They're very easy for your opponent to deal with, but this army is really just about going for a cool-looking army on the skull bases and having a change from the elves, change of pace, meaning that I'm not really running away from combat, I'm trying to get into combat, so it's just a bit of a change of play style. So if you want to succeed with Warriors of Chaos, I don't really recommend Chaos Warriors on foot, but if you want your army to look cool and you like the models, go ahead. Next picture, a bit more of a close-up here of this particular guy. You can see that the helmet he's wearing is taken from the Chaos Knight sprue, so when you buy a Chaos Warriors battalion, I suggest swapping and changing the heads around just to make things a little more varied and spiced up. And there he is on the base there. This is one of my favorite little models here, and he's got a big axe, so looking very cool there. Next picture, I've also got some Marauders. These guys weren't put on their bases because the bases showed up later than the models did, so I'm just going to have to rip them off. The way I did this is I just glued 1 foot onto the base so I could get them all up and running, and then it's just a matter of snapping them off and putting them on their skull bases. But as you can see here, I've got lots of little skull bases shown up, and the Marauders are a lot of fun to put together and to paint. So, and it's quite important to have one big unit of Marauders like that if you're going to take any mages. Hopefully you guys can't actually see my IRD number on the on the tax summary form there, but never mind. If you're taking any Chaos Sorcerers, it's nice to be able to put them in a unit of Chaos Marauders with the Marcus Slanesh, because that means that you are safe from a lot of different things like shooting and any kind of psychological attack because of the Marcus Slanesh. And interestingly enough, with the Marcus Slanesh, you can still flee because it makes you immune to fear and terror, but not immune to psychology per se. Alright, next picture, a different look at the Warriors of Chaos here. You can see a few little modifications I've done. One guy on the end has got a big axe slash spear from the Chaos Knights kit. Interestingly enough, when you buy a pack of these metal great weapons, you only get 10 of them, and I want to field my Chaos Warriors in units of 12 strong. That way you can have the 6 wide frontage, still get a rank there, and the 6 wide frontage means that you can get as many guys into base-to-base contact with a normal unit of 5 wide troops when that combat happens. So looking really cool, really happy with the way these guys turned out, and the base is just looking phenomenal. Can't wait to get to painting them. In fact, I've already painted them. I'm just sort of doing this little commentary from a hindsight perspective. Next picture, this particular guy here that you're looking at, as you can see, the bases are a little bit rough. The resin bases, you have to clean them up a little bit, but the big staff that he's holding looks kind of wacky. It's like a little trident. It's very haphazardly glued together. I'm not very good at doing conversions. I'm better at gaming and painting than conversions, as you can see. but I do try my hand in it once in a while, and he's got a Chaos Knight's helmet as well. Next picture, here you can see a bit of undercoating happening. Obviously, you want to just spray them with Chaos Black first with most Warriors of Chaos paint schemes, and then just it's a matter of dry brushing over top of it. So that's the way you do it there. Next photo, first go at the color scheme. So you can see I've gone for a very brown sort of Baroque color scheme on the armor itself, and just dry brushed over with different shades of grey on everything else. And the initial go at the base was to just have a really sort of icky sort of red theme there, but I didn't really like the way this base turned out, so I decided to paint over it. But as you can see here, I've also gone for a bit of a dull sort of brass look on the metallic mace, and I'm just in general quite happy with how the color scheme turned out. I'll be sort of touching these guys up a little bit more, but that's the initial first attempt I did the color scheme, and it turned out quite well. Next photo, a bit of a darker picture here, but you can see the comparison between the two bases there. You got one Chaos Warrior with the sort of darker red and white highlights, and the other guy with an extreme blood red and extreme white highlights, and just turned out a bit much. I didn't really like either of them, but they still look kind of cool. Just going to go for something else though, and the Chaos Knight, really great model, and looks even cooler with the skull base there as well. Next picture, just more of a close-up here on the bases. You can see how white one of them is and sort of how weird the other one is, and I just didn't really like it. There was something about it that just didn't appeal to me, and after looking at it for so long, I just decided that I'd try something else. So let's continue to the next picture. Here's my third attempt at an interesting base color. I went for a blood red, and I just kept adding white to the blood red and highlighting up until it was almost pinkish, almost a sort of a Halloweenish look, but still not completely sold on the color of the bases there. And in the end, I decided to go for something completely different. Well, not completely different, but maybe a mix between some of these different ideas. Again, just couldn't quite get it right. First go at painting the bases, I initially thought that I'd be able to make it look good really easily, but not really the case there. By the way, you might notice that when I'm painting that sort of 10 bits brass color over the weapons, I'm then going over some of the edges with a little bit of mithril silver to make it look like the worn, kind of like the initial sort of coating of metal's been scraped off a little bit as they've been bashing people in battle. Next picture, yeah, just pretty much the same again. You're looking a little bit closer at the bases, and you can see that red just doesn't quite sit right, doesn't really give a very good look to the model, so we're going to skip that. And this is the color scheme that I decided on. It's a mix between scab red and blood red, and then highlighted with just dry brushing the blood red over, and it makes the bases look a bit gorier, a bit more sort of Khorne themed, even though this army is going to be generally an undivided theme with a few marks here and there. The models are meant to look as though they don't belong to any particular god, although the bases definitely do say Khorne all over them with the skulls. But as you can see, looking at these 5 miniatures here, the guys on the left, the white bases just look, I don't know, they didn't really quite, maybe you like them, I didn't really like them. The guy in the middle, definitely no, but the guys on the right, I think that's a real winner. I think maybe just highlighting up the red a little bit more, just to make them stand out a little bit more so you can see the details, since I paid so much for these skulls and they look so cool. But definitely that sort of shade of red on a whole army will make it look very unique. You don't often see an army which has red bases that everybody's standing on, so I think that makes the army look very unique. Next picture, a bit more of a closer look. You can see quite well here the little mithril silver details on the weapons too, just edging them around. So that's quite cool, and the bases, yeah, definitely sold on that. So next photo again. This is at a later stage when I finished an entire unit of Chaos Warriors. They're looking really cool, and I've started on the Marauders, and I'm starting to put together the Knights in the background. But just in general, just imagine the whole army looking like this with the red bases. Obviously, the light streaming in through the window has made the Warriors look very bright, but if you look at them in person, they do actually look quite dark. It's just the massive lighting that's going on these on this picture that makes things look very bright. And if we go to the next photo, you can see I've actually started freehanding a few little runes and markings onto these warriors. Like this guy in the front rank has got the Mark of Khorne on his helmet, and some other little runes taken out of the Chaos Warriors book around on his armor plates. And I just think that adds a little bit of extra detail. It breaks up the monotony. I think that using brown as the color scheme for the armor was just a little bit too weird. It made them look too sort of army, sort of modern military camo-ish. I wanted them to look very Baroque, so I think the details breaks that up quite nicely. Next photo, I've gone for a brown-skinned Marauder theme. They look very, I don't know whether Gothic or Dark Ages is a good way to describe them, but I've used the same color scheme on the metal and so forth. In person, they look very, very dark and charcoalish, but with all the light in this photo, the photography has really brightened them up too much, and it kind of looks like there's too much grey paint on them. If you look at them in person, with not too much light in the room, they look really cool. So I'll get you some better photos of that later on, but for now, that's what that is. And next photo, you can see I've got tons of these little skull bases left, and I'm going to be putting together the rest of the army, and it'll probably take me a few months to get everybody done, but I just thought I'd give you a bit of a teaser of how things are going. So more information for you guys coming up soon, and look out for the tournament commentaries being posted later in the week. See you guys later.